But what happens when it's God's plan for you to be persecuted?
Wow.
Seriously, what happens when it's God's plan for you to be persecuted?
Wow.
Because we're going through John chapter 11. And so far, to be honest with you, it feels like everything that you would come to expect. It feels like we should just be expecting the unexpected.
Yeah.
But if we start off verse 45, I'm going to read it. Therefore, many of the Jews who had come to visit Mary had seen what Jesus did, believed in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. Then the chief priests and the Pharisees called a meeting in the Sanhedrin. What are we accomplishing? They said. Here is a man who's working many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him, and then Romans will come and take away both our temple and our nation. Then one of them named Caiaphas, yeah, I know how to say that, Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, spoke up. You know nothing at all. You do not realize that it is better for you that one man die for the people than the whole nation perish. He did not say this on his own, but as high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the Jewish nation, and not only for that nation, but also for the scattered children of God, to bring them together and make them one. So from that day on, they plotted to take his life. What happens when it's God's purpose, when it's God's will for you to be persecuted? Like, we just finished going through these Bible verses, and essentially it's, we know, you know the Bible, but we know that the plot is kill Jesus. We know that the bad guys are trying to kill Jesus. We know that. We know that Judas betrays Jesus. We know that. Judas is the bad guy. The Pharisees are the bad guy. The Jewish people are trying to kill Jesus. They're the bad guys. You know, but it is God's purpose that in order for the nation, God's nation, Israel, to be united, and those who are scattered according to what the word says, Jesus has to die. One man has to die. It was prophesied on behalf of God. God-aligned prophecy. So what happens when you say, God, use me? God, take me. God, here I am. How's that song go? It's like, my life is not my own. It's to you I belong. I give myself to you. Yeah. What happens when you decide to make those prayers, you decide to sing those songs, and then you realize that the purpose that God has for you is to use you to glorify his name on this earth, even if that means that you're going to be persecuted, maybe even to the point of death.
Wow.
Because it's so easy. I don't even want to continue to stress how easy it is. I guess now the question that we should ask is, now that we know that this is a very true possibility, how are we going to respond to these situations? How are we going to respond to these situations? We could sit here and we can go through life and just miss it. Go through life and be shocked that every obstacle that we face is just the work of the devil, the work of our flesh. We can sit here and just live our lives in this sweet ignorance. Yeah. I say ignorance is bliss, you know? Yes, we could be at peace with a false reality, or accept the fact that God is trying to do something great and special in your life. And if we really want to say, or if we really want to acknowledge that persecution, that is a very real possibility, that the things that you're going through, the struggles that you're facing, the persecution that you're facing is nothing more than a God-allowed season for you, for God to really work through your life. Yeah. What we have to do is actually begin to look and just study the life of Jesus and how he responded to this very thing.
Yes, sir. How did he?
And, well, I'm going to tell you. I say this, but I'll tell you. Jesus, and this is my favorite analogy of Jesus. Jesus goes to the Mount of Olives, and this is right before he's about to just start the process of death, you know, of being crucified. Judas has left to betray him. Judas has left to turn him in and bring in the guards, and he goes to praise. He doesn't go to praise. He goes to pray, and what he does is simply say, God, if you can pass, same way you just moved that cup. God, if you can take this cup from me. You know, But at the end of the day, let your will be done. At the end of the day, let your purpose in my life be completed. And that's the key word right there. If you really, really, from the bottom of your heart, you're trying, you're living, you're praying for God to really use your life as an object, as a tool to really progress the kingdom on this earth. And you got to be willing to remember that even in the face of persecution, even in the face of death, even in the face of betrayal, even in the face of pain, depression, hurt, anything, all of it, at the end of the day, it's just that simple admission. God, at the end of the day, let your will be done and not my own. And to me, that's the answer right there. The moments where your flesh, your emotions, your feelings, your own heart. The Bible says your heart is deceitful above all things. When your own heart, the pit of you, is telling you like, this ain't the way. You know what I mean? All that you're left with is that admission of just saying, opening your mouth and declaring, God, at the end of the day, man, your will and not my own. Sometimes we don't know better. If it's anything that, again, man, if it's anything we can't take away from this right now, it's the simple fact that God is willing to use things. God is willing to do things in an extraordinary way, in a way that we'll never see coming. And for us to find the confidence to say that's not God. For us to live in a season like we're living in right now, for us to face quarantine, for us to face a pandemic, for us to face injustice, and open up our mouths to say that's not God is a very risky thing. Because if he's willing to give his son to save a nation and save a people and save a world, and he's going to do it through a just man being unjustly murdered and crucified on a cross, how then do we find that freedom and confidence to say, hey, you know what? That's not from God. I don't think we're in a position I don't think we're in a position in a season like this to open up our mouths and try to dictate what is from God and what isn't. I think the only thing that we're left with is just simply admitting, God, at the end of the day, your will be done, man. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to die. I don't know if this or that. I don't know if I'm going to have to turn the cheek. I don't know if somebody's going to do me dirty. I don't know if I'm going to get sick. I don't know if I'm going to lose my job. I don't know how I'm going to go about this life. But at the end of the day, if this is what's necessary for you to glorify yourself through me, let your will be done.